Remember when you couldn't find a new car to save your life? Yeah, good times. It wasn't that long ago when the demand for new cars was through the roof. Dealerships were struggling to keep up with the influx of customers, and waiting lists were the norm. People were willing to pay a premium just to get their hands on the latest models. But oh, how the tables have turned. Well, the party's over for car manufacturers. The once booming industry is now facing a downturn that few saw coming. Factories that were once bustling with activity are now eerily quiet. Production lines have slowed down, and the future looks uncertain for many workers in the industry. Giants like Nissan, Volkswagen, and Stellantis are facing a perfect storm of problems, and frankly, it's a bit of a car crash. These industry titans, who once dominated the market, are now grappling with a myriad of challenges. From supply chain disruptions to changing consumer preferences, the obstacles are mounting. We're talking layoffs, unsold vehicles piling up, and prices that would make your eyes water. Dealerships are now filled with cars that no one seems to want. The once shiny and new vehicles are now gathering dust, a stark reminder of the industry's current woes. Employees are facing the grim reality of job cuts, and the financial strain is palpable. Buckle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. The road ahead is fraught with uncertainty, and the industry is bracing for impact. The ripple effects of this downturn are being felt across the board, from manufacturers to dealerships to consumers. This isn't just a blip on the radar, it's a full-blown crisis. The challenges are deep-rooted and multifaceted, and there's no quick fix in sight. The industry is in uncharted territory, and the path to recovery is unclear. Remember those supply chain issues everyone was complaining about? They're mostly resolved, but now people simply can't afford the cars. The economic landscape has shifted dramatically, and consumers are feeling the pinch. The cost of living has skyrocketed, and big-ticket items like cars are now out of reach for many. Add to that rising interest rates, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Financing a new car has become increasingly difficult, and the burden of high-interest loans is deterring potential buyers. The financial strain is evident, and the outlook is bleak. The auto industry is facing a harsh new reality, and it's not pretty. The once thriving sector is now grappling with a myriad of challenges, and the road to recovery is long and uncertain. The industry must adapt and innovate to survive, but the journey ahead is anything but smooth. When businesses struggle, jobs are often the first casualty. It's a harsh reality that many workers face, often with little warning. The impact of these layoffs is felt not just by the individuals who lose their jobs, but by their families, friends, and entire communities. The emotional and financial toll can be devastating, leading to a cascade of challenges that can be difficult to overcome. And let me tell you, the auto industry isn't messing around. This sector has been hit particularly hard by economic downturns, with companies struggling to maintain profitability in the face of declining sales and increasing competition. The result? Massive layoffs that leave thousands of workers scrambling to find new employment in an already tough job market. Nissan announced a whopping 9,000 layoffs, which, to put it in perspective, is enough people to fill a decent-sized concert venue. Imagine an entire concert hall filled with people, all of whom have just lost their jobs. It's a staggering number that highlights the scale of the problem. These workers are not just statistics. They are individuals with dreams, aspirations, and responsibilities. Not to be outdone, Jeep decided to show 1,000 workers the door, because apparently, even making iconic off-road vehicles can't save you from economic realities. The auto industry is a bellwether for the broader economy, and when companies like Jeep are forced to make such drastic cuts, it sends a clear signal that times are tough. These layoffs are a stark reminder that no job is truly secure in an uncertain economic climate. These layoffs aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent real people with families and lives that are about to be turned upside down. The stress and anxiety that come with job loss can have far-reaching effects, impacting mental health, relationships, and overall well-being. Families are forced to make difficult decisions, cutting back on expenses and rethinking their future plans. The emotional toll can be just as significant as the financial one. The ripple effects of these job losses will be felt throughout entire communities. When a major employer cuts jobs, it affects not just the workers, but also local businesses that rely on their patronage. Restaurants, shops, and service providers all feel the pinch, leading to a downward spiral that can be hard to reverse. Community leaders and organizations often step in to provide support, but the road to recovery can be long and challenging. It's a stark reminder that behind the corporate jargon and economic indicators, there are real human costs to this crisis. Economic downturns and corporate restructuring may be necessary for long-term stability, but they come at a high price for those caught in the crossfire. As we navigate these challenging times, it's important to remember the human stories behind the headlines and to support those who are struggling to rebuild their lives. Remember those empty car lots from a couple of years ago? Well, they're back. But this time, it's the opposite problem. Dealerships are overflowing with unsold cars, and it's not a good look. We're talking about 25,000 Ram trucks just sitting there gathering dust for over 200 days. That's like a whole herd of metal elephants that nobody wants to take home. And it's not just trucks. Remember the Ford Bronco Raptor, that off-road beast everyone was drooling over? Well, guess what? Dealers are marking them up like crazy because they know people will pay a premium. But with the average car price now hovering around an eye-watering amount, even the most die-hard car enthusiasts are starting to think twice. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the price tag on the windshield. Edmunds, the folks who know a thing or two about car prices, are saying that the average new car will cost you an arm, a leg, and probably your firstborn child. And Cox Automotive? They're singing the same tune, reporting that car prices are about as stable as a unicycle on a tightrope. The sad truth is, cars are becoming increasingly unattainable for the average person. It's like trying to buy a small island with the loose change you find between the sofa cushions. And with inflation still nipping at our heels, something's gotta give. Section 5. Interest rates, the other shoe drops. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, enter stage-left interest rates. Remember those things? They're back, and they're not messing around. The Federal Reserve has been hiking rates faster than a cheetah on a sugar rush, and guess who's feeling the pinch? That's right, anyone trying to buy a car. Higher interest rates mean higher monthly payments, and for many people, those payments are simply unsustainable. It's like trying to outrun a tsunami on a treadmill. You're working your butt off, but you're not getting anywhere. The dream of owning a new car is quickly turning into a financial nightmare. Think things are bad here? Well, our friends across the pond aren't having a much better time. The UK car market is facing its own set of challenges, including a court ruling that's throwing the whole car finance system into disarray. Apparently, transparency in lending isn't as common as one might hope. This ruling means that lenders have to be much clearer about the true cost of borrowing, which is bad news for anyone trying to hide sneaky fees and charges. It's like finding out that your all-inclusive holiday resort actually charges extra for using the pool and breathing the air. The UK car market is in a bit of a pickle, to say the least. Okay, so maybe it's not all doom and gloom. The used car market has been a roller coaster ride lately, with prices soaring to unprecedented heights. But, as with any market, what goes up must eventually come down, and it seems like we might be seeing the beginning of that descent. There might be a tiny silver lining in this storm cloud, but only if you're in the market for a used car. The pandemic, supply chain issues, and a host of other factors have made new cars scarce and expensive. This scarcity has driven many buyers to the used car market, pushing prices up. But now, things are starting to shift. With all those new cars gathering dust on dealer lots, the used car market is starting to heat up. Dealerships are eager to move inventory, and that means they're more willing to negotiate on price. This is a stark contrast to just a few months ago when it felt like you had to pay a premium just to get a decent used car. And when I say heat up, I mean prices are finally starting to come down to a somewhat reasonable level. It's not a fire sale by any means, but the inflated prices we've seen over the past year are beginning to cool off. This is good news for buyers who have been holding off, waiting for the right moment to make a purchase. I spoke to a used car dealer the other day, and he told me that he's been scooping up some sweet deals lately. He mentioned that many of these deals are coming from people who are either upgrading to a new car or simply can't keep up with their current payments. This influx of used cars is helping to balance the market. People are desperate to get rid of their cars, either because they can't afford the payments anymore or because they're worried about the future. Economic uncertainty has made many people rethink their financial commitments, and for some, that means letting go of their vehicles. This desperation is creating opportunities for savvy buyers. So if you're in the market for a used car, now might be the perfect time to strike while the iron is hot, or at least lukewarm. Do your research, shop around, and don't be afraid to negotiate. The market is shifting, and with a bit of patience and persistence, you might just find the deal you've been waiting for. Remember, the key is to stay informed and be ready to act when the right opportunity presents itself. It's also worth noting that financing options are becoming more flexible. Lenders are aware of the current market conditions and are offering more competitive rates and terms to attract buyers. This means you might be able to secure a better loan than you could have a few months ago. So, keep an eye on interest rates and be sure to shop around for the best financing deals. Another tip is to get a thorough inspection and a detailed history report of any used car you're considering. This can save you from potential headaches down the road. A car that seems like a great deal on the surface might have hidden issues that could cost you more in the long run. So take your time and make sure you're making a well-informed decision. In conclusion, while the used car market has been challenging, there is a glimmer of hope for buyers. Prices are starting to stabilize, and there are deals to be had if you know where to look. Stay patient, do your homework, and you might just drive away with a great car at a fair price. Happy car hunting. Let's not sugarcoat it. The car market is in a full-blown crisis. From sky-high prices to crippling interest rates, it's tough out there for both car buyers and manufacturers. Dealerships are drowning in unsold inventory, and automakers are resorting to mass layoffs to stay afloat. It's a mess, folks. This crisis is a perfect storm of factors, from supply chain disruptions to geopolitical instability to good old-fashioned greed. And the worst part is, there's no easy fix in sight. So, what does this mean for the average person? Well, if you're in the market for a new car, you might want to hold off for a while. And if you're an auto worker, well, I'd start polishing up that resume if I were you. The road ahead for the car market is looking about as smooth as a cobblestone street after an earthquake. There's no telling how long this crisis will last or how bad things will get. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a bumpy ride. So buckle up, hold on tight, and maybe invest in a really good pair of walking shoes. Just in case.